Congratulations on your film number 66, and really pleased that you're here. Well done with your nominations.
Thank you.
Always the same first question, even though I've got a slew of questions here, which is, why did you decide to make the film? What happened that you thought this could be particularly a good story, or where did it come from?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, for this movie, as probably you're aware that I'm also the main lead.
Yes.
For this movie, as well as the director.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's like it started at probably frustration, if I may, from my a few projects working with the main lead, like A-list, name actors, back in
On
the
other
country.
projects.
On other projects.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So because sometimes I couldn't really do what I wanted as far as my vision is concerned. So given that, I thought that, hey, like my team suggested, why don't you you be in the movie, and so you can do those action scene.
Yeah.
The way you want it. So I think that's kind of like the idea, how it started. Then from there, we started to think of the idea, concept, and I thought that would be cool to have a hitman, and then try to leave the criminal life behind and try to be
Go straight.
Go straight, so
Yeah,
to
yeah.
speak, like that. So that's how the idea came about.
So it wasn't. There was no. The first thing was not so much for having a film to run with, but actually deciding whatever film I do next, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to act in it as well as be behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
So then what, a story came along, or you had a story that you'd been developing, or someone came to you?
No. I this is actually my second collaboration with my writer, because we did the Pirate Brothers before that.
Yeah.
So we always talk about ideas, concepts. What's next? What would be interesting next? So this thing, it just I guess this topic just came around, and I thought, oh, that's a cool idea. Let's do that. So.
Right, and that was the sort of the genesis of it.
Yes.
And what about? I'm always not concerned. I always wonder when you've got you're spinning plates. You're an actor, director, conflict of interest, or is it more difficult than you thought it would be?
I would say it's really tough. It's really tough because first of all, it's like. First of all, you have to be objective at the same time, being the director as an actor. So I have to. Fortunately, I have a good team that that keep me in place, so to speak. And as far as tough in the sense of it's really like you got to think about the shot, and you got to think about doing it, so physically. Both physically and mentally, is kind of like very demanding for this project. That's how I felt.
But there was no. You didn't. Was it more difficult with directing as well as acting? Was
Yes,
it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're going to carry on doing that. It hasn't put you off.
I'm not quite sure at this point, because it's almost like I don't know if I want to do it again. But we'll see.
Okay, and I know you mentioned your cast and crew and sort of keeping you in place, but actually, I'm assuming you've got mainly the same main cast and crew, and how do you inspire them? How do you push them to keep going or overcome difficult parts of the project?
Well, okay. Before I go into that, first of all, for the action part, I'm very fortunate. I have great action director that I kind of trust him, and I'll do whatever he says as far as the action part. And for the rest of the scene, I have to be really involved, and then it takes a little bit longer, because sometimes after a take cut, I have to kind of check it a little bit, so instead of behind the monitor, it's almost like when I'm in it, so I have to check a little bit. Is that okay? All right, okay, let's continue. So that's kind of a little bit time consuming, that, because I have to do that.
And right, and how does that tie in with your cast and crew in terms of, is it always a case of leading by, how can I put this? I don't know, pushing yourself forward and leading by example.
Yes, leading by example. That would be the right the right word, because nobody can sort of complain. This is I'm tired, but So I think that's by doing that thing, I'm also motivating the rest of the the cast and the crew that, hey, if I can do it, I mean, stop complaining. So yeah.
Okay, and why and how did you get into filmmaking? How did it all start?
Well, it was, if I remember, like it was in year 2000. You know, well, when I decided to, this is the my passion. This is the thing that I want to do. Then because I'm my background actually, you know, I got a doctorate in business administration.
Oh right, wow.
Right.
Right,
You
okay.
know, so and then after that, I work in a company for about 5 years before I decided like, ah, this is really not what I want to do. So in 2000, I went back to New York Film Academy, you know, and after that, just made my first movie. And like a lot of people say, you know, movie is it's like a drug. It's almost it's
Oh, yeah.
addictive, you know. So
Absolutely,
once
yeah,
you're in,
so-
it's like you can never out. Basically, that was like my first movie. I made it in 2002. I think 2002. That was my first movie, and never looked back.
Exactly the same. I spoke to an accountant yesterday
Mhm.
to become a filmmaker. He said exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And is it harder to get started in the industry, or is it harder to keep going?
Well, like, probably like anything else, you know, like it's always start in the beginning because no one believe in you. You know, you don't have, you know, really like credits, you know, so people can to convince those people or the investors, so to speak, because they say, "You know, what have you done?"
Mm.
Well, you know, like no, nothing. But now it's a lot easier because you know you have, you know, stuff to show them. Oh, that's pretty good. All right, okay, I wanna be involved for the next project. So.
And when it comes to the investment side, how do you balance the investors who want
Mhm.
something in a film with your artistic vision? How do you square those up?
Um, well, usually, you know, like we talk beforehand, and I would say, you know, when the production start, you know, like I don't want, you know, any burden in the set and say, hey, I don't like this thing. Can you change this thing? But usually we talk about it like just before, like, doing a pre-production. So make sure everything is laid on the table, and then, you know, this is the direction that, you know, we're gonna do, and make sure they say, all right, okay, that's good. So.
So
usually-
so that includes storyboarding, I suppose. You've
Yes.
got to break down the film.
Yes. So like doing the pre-production, usually we'll talk about it.
And what about social media? Because how important is that to you for getting the word out there or use in filmmaking?
I think it's very important. It's very important because, like, you know, like those like Facebook, YouTube, especially when you trying to market the movie. Even like before we released, you know, like theatrically in my country or surrounding countries like in Singapore, Malaysia. I think like, you know, social media play a very important role. It's a lot cheaper than conventional way where you have to advertise, you know, on TVs, you know, radio. So we still do that, but you know, proportion we can you know, wise, we kind of like allocate a lot of the social media.
And when you were making this film,
Mhm.
when obviously everyone wants a smooth ride, but did anything go wrong? Is there anything you can pin down? It's like, oh, you know.
Always in the production, this always happens. You know, it always happens. You know, like especially in action movies, injuries is unavoidable. You know, literally, I injured all my fingers and, you know, my hamstring. You know, but hey, that's part of the action movie. You know, like,
Yeah, that's beauty, I guess.
I know. You know, if people want, let's do a drama movie. Don't do action movie. So it's part of the. I think it's part of the thing, part of the job. Yeah.
And what's next for you? Have you got what's the next project?
Oh, actually, we're gonna shoot by the end of April. It's another action movies, you know. We're gonna shoot again in probably April 26th for the next project.
Another action.
Yeah, another action film, another action film.
And what about, I don't know, rom-com or I don't know. Seriously, you know, is there something else you're thinking I'd like to do, or science fiction? I don't
Sure,
know.
I love, you know, rom-com movie. You know, I started you know, with that. I did, you know, like actually when I started, I did the horror, you know, thriller, and then I did rom-com, and you know, and finally action. It's just that now, you know, for the past like 5-6 years, I'm trying to focus on the action, simply because the demand overseas, like in Asia,
Yeah.
is action movie is more universal, so to speak, like that. But deep in my, for me, good movies, it doesn't matter the genre is. You know, I love good movies, great movies. I watch all sort of rom-com, you know, a horror thriller. As long as it's good, it's good.
And what do you think audiences want? I know that's a bit of a difficult question
Mhm.
because they want different things, but I suppose you've got to plug into a generality. And
Mhm.
how do you overcome? How do you think, well, is this what they want to see? I'm sure this is what they want to see. How do you balance all that?
Well, that's a very good question. You know,
Sorry, that's quite a tough one, isn't it?
no, that's a very good question, Steve. But I honestly, so I never really thought of that. Usually, I just sort of like we always try to outdo what we did on the previous project. So that's actually like we always try to do that. So we really never think of like what does the audience wants. We believe if you produce and if you make great movies, good movies, they will have an audience. That's what we believe. Of course, like marketing play an important role as well. So yeah. So honestly, I never really think about that direction. Basically, it's just like what's like what can we do better from the previous project. It could be it could be the action, it could be the story, because I truly believe that the story should carry the action, not the other way around. Because an action without story is just a stunt movies. So I try not to do that. I always focus on the story. Then when we add the action, hopefully it will be better.
And I suppose instead of broken fingers, you're going to have broken arms next time. Severed heads or something. Maybe not. It's often said that the film always starts with a script. At what point, when you're creating the script, do you think now's the time to shoot? I mean, is there a moment, do you have a eureka moment, or do you have it set in stone and you just got to work around that?
A moment. Usually after a moment. Usually sometimes it's kind of like, because it's an art, sometimes it's kind of like, there's not really set formula for that. Because like sometimes could be like after second draft, that's it, this is it. This is good really. But sometimes for this 66 we have like 6 drafts. Until I finally like, this is good. We should start now.
And when you're sitting in with your editor, obviously not honing the film down, how painful is that to watch? When the guy's going, cut this, cut that. You don't need this. Do the transition this scene this way. Is it a difficult or have you now learnt that just let him get on with it? I'll just take his advice and try not to interfere. Was it difficult not to interfere?
Right. I try to do that. I usually let the editor sort of have the rough cut, the first cut. Sometimes I like to do that because they will give me some new insight that I never thought of. So I don't mind if let's say it's it's the best for the movie. So I try to sort of like put that ego aside, and then when I watch a movie, truly from the audience point of view.
Right. Okay.
Even though sometimes it's like it's tough, but I'm hoping sometime my family, my wife and my kids say, that's not good. Kind of like put me on, grounded and say, all right, okay, you guys right, okay, all right, let's change that.
Okay. And what's your favourite film?
All-time favorite?
Yeah.
So many movies. Of course, Godfather is up there. And I love like sci-fi as well, like Back to the Future, Jurassic Park. So that's a very again a very good question. People ask me what's my favorite movie. There's so many great movies, so I can't really name ones, but I can name a few.
Yeah, I would find it tough to name one.
Right, like the all-time favorite. I don't know. I love good movies.
Maybe an easy question is to say, if you could make a film that you've seen, what would you have made?
Something like Godfather. Where there's not a lot of like gun shooting.
No, there isn't.
But it's a very good movie.
Yeah,
good action movie. So fantastic. Brilliant. So yeah, movie like that will be my dream.
Listen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Kurang ajar. Berapa banyak lagi orang kita yang dijadikan saksi?
Gua melakukan kesalahan yang gak seharusnya.
Semua jadi berantakan, dan waspada yang berlebihan terhadap pihak yang berwajib.
Gua mau balas dendam.
Tapi kan hanya satu mata-mata.
Kita harus segera habisi bajingan-bajingan itu. Aku akan mengutus kamu, karena dia setia pada kita.
Mulai sekarang, kamu menyelesaikan tugas sesuai dengan apa yang saya perintahkan.